think. One of them had a big. Well, but they were a furniture dealer too. Some of them were they were commercial and residential. Are you residential only?
Residential, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The residential ones I worked with were about that size, probably. I turned this on. Hang on.
Yes, I see that.
Shit, I didn't grab my phone.
Hello, everyone.
Wait, we're not on yet. It takes a couple of minutes.
Takes a couple of minutes,
especially lately. Let me check on. I'll check on it. Yeah, I don't see it. Oh, nope. they're coming. Yeah, we have to give it about another minute. So, you didn't go glamping this past weekend?
No. I think our last glamping trip was probably the last one for the season because Chris is quite glamped out.
Is he really? God, those places are beautiful.
I know. What a wuss, eh?
Huh? What?
So what a wuss. My husband's glamped out. I'm like, what is that? I'm like, come on.
So hello. There's Julie. So glamping is glamorous camping. Is that what that's right?
Yes. Don't feel sorry for me. I am way too old to be like sleeping on a friggin' mattress on the floor.
No.
Little Betsy is 27 feet, fully loaded trailer. We do full hookups. So that basically, there's plumbing, there's electricity. We have memory foam toppers on our mattress, nice bamboo sheets. But I just like being in nature on my own terms. So that's how I reconcile that.
That's how I would recommend. That's the size I was traveling in. Well, but it was an RV, so the 27 foot, in fact, my friends had a 27 foot, their house burned down. And that was plenty big. That was actually really big. A lot bigger than a 27-foot RV. Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where everything is within context, right? Like 27 feet in the fleet of all the different RVs out there. No, it's pretty tiny. That's why Little Betsy's Little Betsy. Like my in-laws basically drive this obnoxious A-class motorhome. It's gorgeous, but man, it is a beast on the road.
Is it? Yeah.
And when they pull up, you're like, it's basically a luxury hotel on wheels, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My old boss had he had a whole line of them. He started small over the years. He was about 60 when I met him, but he had bought a Provost. You ever seen those?
No.
The Provost are
familiar though.
Yeah. The Provost are $1 million buses.
Yeah.
And he had got one. It was custom. He had got it for $750. It was a year old, and I guess whoever bought it turned it in. He bought it, and man, it was like something out of James Bond. It was crazy. You push a button and the things open, and like you park and everything levels up. You push a button. All kinds of it's pretty cool. Yeah. So what's happening? What are we doing here? I love these spontaneous. The spontaneous are the best.
I want to say, okay, so I have been quite busy. And even though Morgan has been trying to get me scheduled, I just told her I think the last time she asked, I'm like, honestly, I'm just booked until September. And she asked at the beginning of summer. And it's not because I didn't want to participate and collaborate on Soulogy Fest or Soulogy, because Soulogy Fest was our last collaboration. And that kind of was like perfect timing. But then summer hit, and then during summer, I usually just the natural inclination to play hard. So I don't really commit to anything else unless it has something to do with like traveling or glamping or playing. So, And then yesterday you posted what was it? Just over an hour rant that it was your last.
It wasn't a rant. It wasn't a rant. I just.
No, quiet. Let me just finish this.
Yeah.
So it was so funny because you just are random these days. You'll show up at like 1:15 because I put you on notification. So if you're not getting Soulogy's notification, there's an opportunity for you to actually change that. So anytime Todd jumps on, you will see it right away. So that's how I know. It's not because I'm up at 1:15 because I'm usually in bed by 9 p.m. And I'm like, what? So you're up at all different times. But yesterday's was quite dramatic. It's like entitled The Last Transmission.
No, I put, is this my last transmission? That's what I put.
Today I was driving to work, and part of my job is buying tropical plants for my store. So I was driving to work, and I put you on, trying to figure out what your last transmission. I was killing myself laughing because there were so many F-bombs. I'm like, this is your last transmission,
I
babe?
know, okay, I never listen to anything. I always check the metrics to see how I just stay on top of everything. So about 2 weeks ago, I heard, okay, you play dumb, you dumb it down. I mean, I've talked about it before. Like when I started, I knew innately not to, in other words, I don't want to draw attention to myself. And I represent the audience, the field, and that's a very wide field. Some people, everybody knows certain things and don't know certain things. So I ask questions. I might know the answer, right? But
Yeah.
so anyway, time went on, and and then I don't know, about 2 weeks ago, I had gotten this new phone my friend gave me because my phone died. And anyone that has my phone number, I don't have that number, so I have all these mad people that have been sending me text messages. But anyway, I heard I was in a parking lot at Walmart, and I heard you gotta come out now. It's time. And I said okay. So I'm in the Walmart, and I just didn't like I used to do. I just did like a spirit walk, but I didn't even get out of the car. I just sat in the car, and the response was like, I guess because I hadn't done it in a while. Anyway, so I've been doing them when I'm told to do them or when I know to do them. So yesterday, uh, I thought I was dying. I talked about it. I mean, it was crazy. It's just a climax of the last whatever, right? So I crawled in here and I did it, and I actually forgot about it. Now I didn't make the next show. I just told the lady I can't do it. We're going to do it Tuesday. And then I made the next show, and as I'm doing the show, I realized I had done the solo earlier, and I thought, oh my god, I did a solo. I was literally out of body. So I was checking all the metrics because there's been a huge increase in all of the platforms. In fact, the Soulogy One Studios Facebook page has been outperforming my page for like months, and I didn't even know it. Like when we did David Icke the second time, there was, I think, 3 days later, there was 7,000 views on my page. There was 55,000 on the Soulogy One Studios Facebook page. So I didn't even know that, because that's a totally different crowd over the years. There's 25,000 on that page. There's like 35 on the group page and whatever's on my page. But anyway, so I was looking at the metrics last night, and the engagement, which is the number of people that engage as a percentage of the views, is normally we're around 10%, which is very, very good in the social media. These that I've been doing, or that if Morgan and I do it, have been like anywhere from 20 to 50%. Well, the crazy one from yesterday was like 50%. And I'm, what the hell's going on? It had like 85 comments just on the YouTube platform, which normally that would take a David Icke to approach that. You know what I mean? A show like that. So I thought, what the hell's going on? I got to watch this. So I was doing some work in the den, and I flipped it on the screen, and I'm just doing my work, and I'm listening. I keep hearing F-bomb, 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 and I'm like, oh my god. I thought, because I consciously stopped doing that, but I haven't done it so long, and I guess I got possessed. So I thought, and I started going human. I was like, oh my god, I probably offended like Judith Kuzel and the veteran, yeah. So then I wake up this morning, and I have a note from like, I got a bunch of notes actually, but I got a couple of notes from the veteran, like I'm talking like the ones that go back to like the 80s, right? And I get one from Victoria Lillenquist, and she would have been the perfect one. I would have been like, oh my, I hope I didn't offend her, and she's like, oh my god, that was so honest, and I think, oh, I guess the F-bombs are okay now. I don't know what's going on, but I didn't realize it. I'm gonna have to get a new camera. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, that was kind of trippy.
Yeah, so I listened to it because I'm driving, so I'm not watching it. It's more like a podcast. And there were so many F-bombs. I just started killing myself laughing in the car, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why did he call his entity Soulogy. You know what I mean? Should have been just like, fuck this shit, because that's what we've been saying.
Well, I think that.
And I'm like, we need to rebrand. Let's rebrand you. Let's do fuck this shit.
Fuckology. Well, but and then I cause see, I was so incapacitated. I don't even know what happened. I know we've all had heart palpitations, but this was like ridiculous. I started sweating, my whole body. I couldn't get up. I couldn't get up at all. Now I've had these experiences over the last couple of weeks. I've had 3 or 4 experiences, but they involved my light body leaving, and I figured it out later going to Australia. But this time I'm laying there and I could feel, because I've had a couple of out of body experiences, and I could feel my body, I guess light body, leave me, and I could feel the density and the coldness of my vessel. And I thought, oh fuck, I'm actually gonna go. So I had this whole mortality thing. So then I had this thing about, what would you say to people right now? So I couldn't get up to do a video, so I just wrote it, right? It was about COVID, and it just was a channel, really. And so then I got up and I was able to do it. But I was, it was nothing I thought of. It had to be, the you, me, we, and it. But it was like, it made so much sense to me. So it was the mask, showing us the mask. We put mask on. The vaccine, well, we're already doing it because we're external. We reach for external things and we energetically vaccinate ourselves. And then quarantine, because so many of us say, oh, well, I'm an empath or I'm an introvert, and we don't want to go out because we don't want to mix. But I just got it. We have to. That's part of the game, right? But the biggest one, and I didn't realize it because I don't ever really know what I'm going to say, even though I had written something, was as I started it, that whole thing about don't say COVID and don't this and don't that. We've been hit twice on YouTube and twice on Facebook.
Yeah.
And so, and YouTube said, next time you're gone, right? So it just came in my head like, you know what? Fuck this shit. Like, this is the big one, is if we're going to actually accommodate this illusion, then we're defeated. That's pure giving your power away. So I just started saying COVID. I said all the bad words, and understanding that this is what has to happen, regardless of what happens as a result. And they didn't take it off. So you froze. Well, this is going to be interesting. I don't think she knows that she froze. How's it going, everybody? She'll figure it out in a minute. Anyway, there she goes. So that was the point, is that if it's like Stockholm Syndrome. You can't say these words that were sent to you, so we don't do it, and we think that we're actually gaining something. So my understanding on that download was that you defy it, but you don't defy it with this. And Todd fucked this shit his off way off stream. But you defy it not out of rebellious and a charge. You just stand in your power and do it. And it's an energetic, physical representation of the energetic that came through in the download. And I'm sure she'll be back soon. But it worked. And I'm not going to say everybody go do it. I just had to do what I had to do. But, the response has been really good. And I don't mean that in a way of like, oh, good job. I just mean like, I think what I was in tune with is what everybody's feeling. And based on the comments, based on the messages, it feels like that we're all coming to that point, which part of that transmission was about, using the dark nights of the soul that we've all had as a backdrop for what we're facing. So what did we do in the dark night of the soul? We hit rock bottom and we said, fuck this shit, and we said, bring it on. What else you got? Like, you didn't kill me. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of the energy that I think I tapped into, but it's not me. It's you, me, we, and it. And I know that a lot of people are there because I could see it in the messages and the comments and such. And I think she set me up. I think that's what she did. She set me up to be on here because I don't see her coming back yet, but maybe she will. So I guess I'm gonna have to wing it. So yeah, what can we talk about till she gets back? Yeah, I do think that the rawness and the thing about the F bombs, I really didn't know that I did that. I was shocked last night when I heard that many, but I was also very aware of the frequency, even though it was me I was listening to, which I don't do. Uh, and I think this is where people have gotten to. Like we're letting go of things, and part of that is obviously not judging things and taking them for the frequency and the energy as opposed to violating some pious principle that somebody shoved down our throat. And so I was pleased when I got some nice messages from veteran light workers, and it gave me some validation. Here we go. Are you back?
Yeah.
What happened?
You
I
said
thought,
vaccine and knocked us off.
well, oh God. That's funny. I thought you set me up for a minute.
No.
I thought, you know what? She just set me up. You know? Yeah. So
Did you say something brilliant while I was trying to reconnect?
no, I was just talking about how it seems like I tapped into what's actually happening because based on the comments and the messages I received, which have been really disproportionate, we can hold our own. I think in terms of like the metrics that platforms like we actually do very well, but this was like astronomical. Like I haven't checked the one YouTube channel yet, but it was already at over I think 89 comments now. That's just a measuring stick. And if you look at the first David Icke, which was the biggest show we ever did, not even the biggest, but it was like 100 comments and much more views. So something's going on where people are getting to the point where they're saying, fuck that shift. They're and what I was saying is that in that write-up and in that talk, it's just using our own dark nights of the soul as a backdrop. What did we do? We got to a point and we went, fuck that shit. I'm going to walk away from this relationship. I'm going to walk away from this job. I'm not going to conform. I'm not going to be quiet. And you just do it. And it's not even a fearlessness. It's just like, you know what are you going to do to me? And that's just kind of the feeling I get that people are stepping into, that we're all stepping into.
Well, there's definitely, energetically, what is happening is everyone's put in a pressure cooker, right? So if you have been like bypassing all of your traumas, or I don't want to say bypassing your spiritual healing because that just sounds like bullshit to me, but just basically not working on your traumas in terms of expanding yourself for a fuller experience instead of your limitations, like getting rid of your limitations. I think energetically that's busting down all your excuses. If you had excuses in the past, I can't do, I want this, I dream this, I love this, but the butt, that butt is COVID-19.
Yeah.
What happens is that butt just collapsed everything for you. You have no safety net. You don't have any excuses. And it becomes very clear what is important to you and what is prioritizing. Because when you are lulled in basically modern society's narrative of what success looks like, what comfort looks like, what love looks like, it's easy for you to buy into it because we're being like spoon fed that, right?
Yeah.
So if you are not of that narrative, of course you're going to struggle through it. It's not your jam. And then if it's not your jam, you're going to be really uncomfortable when it becomes a narrative that is so polarizing. So I think what everyone's doing right now is taking inventory of what's really important to you, and all the bullshit is taken away from you. You have no choice. All your safety nets that were built on your false narrative, like not in alignment with you, it's taken away. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where you have so when I was driving and I was listening to your show yesterday, I was driving today, but listening from yesterday, one of the things I kept saying, Todd's not going to die soon. You're going to grow a really old person And
Several hundred years.
yes, yes. And I'm like, although you may wish it because it's easier, you're going to be around for
I
such
didn't, I
a long
didn't, but see, the thing is, I didn't wish it. It was just like you know how you can't you really can't teach each other things. You have to experience it. That's a teacher. So it was just the mortality coming in. I wasn't upset. I wasn't freaked out. I was just like, oh, I've got to be open to anything. How do I know how this is going to work? I mean, I don't know how this is going to work. It could have been happening to everybody in the whole world at the same time, you know. But I totally get what you're saying, and I think uh, there's always multiple things. But one of the things that you're saying too is that you sometimes you don't know what you have until it's gone.
yes, yes.
See, and so you just take a typical person, right? Typical person, let's say they got, they got a spouse and they got some kids in the house and they got to go grind it out at 8 to 5 every day. They got to commute and the whole 9 yards. And it gets taken away. And so not only do they realize, hey, wait a minute, that was not so bad, but they also find themselves in a situation that they didn't ask for. And then they have, and then really it takes you to the same place. So I think that's one thing that I'm seeing when I look at the field. And the other thing I'm seeing in our communities, we'll just put it that way. And I know I can't believe I said that yesterday about the sanctimonious sons of bitches that we are. But the thing is what I'm watching happen is the over identification with those things that were really just code. Like for you, it might be dragons, and you're not this way. You're very humble. But it could be like, because of the impact it's had in your life, you could be like, hey, I'm a dragon person and you're not a dragon person, or whatever. But that whole over identification with these connections, be they a past life memory or a channeling ability or whatever, they're on they're front and center too. They're like where the traumas used to be. Oh, I'm not that trauma. That's not who I am. I'm not that label. Well, now those things are being stripped away because I think it's just going to leave us just with the human, and that's the rest of the story. It's another, you don't know what you have until you don't have it. And I think we're going to miss being here. And you're right. I'm going to be here for several hundred years. I don't want to be here. I want to go back to eating tacos, man. I want to go back to eating tacos.
Yeah, you're literally going to be like the last person to die, and you're going to be one of the veterans and elders in the community. And you'll be like, back when I was young, this is what happened. I think the other thing that's like colliding, which is kind of fun at the same time if you're in an observation mode. So I've chosen to observe everything with as much neutrality as I can. And if it's entertaining, that's a bonus for me. Like most of the time, what's unraveling is entertaining. But the other thing I've done is I've surrendered a lot. So that makes it even more entertaining because the universe seems to correspond with your energy when you surrender with delight and surprise. So even it doesn't matter what type of personality you are. If you're like me, I'm like a type A personality, very structured, very scheduled, very I plan my life out. And when I go into like, unless I decide I don't want to plan, but that's still a planning, right? When you plan to not plan, that's also planning. So if I decide to do that, what happens is the echo of the universal energy that hits you. You're like, whoa, I did not see that coming. That is super exciting, right? Yeah. So with the global pandemic, we have never had an event that affected globally at such a scale with such technology that we are all united. In the past, we didn't have the technology of social media. We didn't know what was going on in the rest of the world. Your world was like this tiny, right? And then the internet just exploded and then we became a global community. So this event triggered a global community where everyone is at baseline of creation, right? So people are responding very differently to it. And sometimes you wake up and you're like, oh, this is a lot, especially for the empaths of the community where they haven't figured out how they set up their own boundaries. So they're not interacting with really polarizing energies that aren't really for you, but it's just experiences for other people. So it's it's one of those things where I don't know. I find it's crazy for sure, intense for sure. You're obviously trying, like, whether you know it or not, your physical vessel, you are basically detoxing so you can carry more code, right? So that's kind of part of it. You'll get to a point where you can alchemize whatever it is that's going in your body. So for example, if you decide to take the vaccination, you can chemicalize that so it is in alignment for you. It doesn't have to have the narrative of this community that it is like it's oppression, it is deprivation, it is lacking, it is limitation. It doesn't need to be that if you don't want it to. There are other options for you, right? So, but yeah, yes.
You know what? That's a great point, and I I hope I didn't come out because I hear what you're saying. In fact, I did make a couple of previous solos where I talked about this, and I said, for instance, I said, if somebody said to me tomorrow, you can go to Australia and be with Morgan, but you got to take a vaccine. I don't know what the answer would be, but I would know what the answer would be when that's actually in reality presented to me. But whatever my answer would be, it would be from the heart, right?
Yeah,
So I think that's part of the characteristics of the program in general, the program being the fear-based programming or whatever, is the distraction factor. The issue is not about it's the big bad wolf because it's just another version of the same bullshit. So the issue is stay in your own fucking lane. Okay. Do what's right for you. Do what's right for your kids. You know, if you got kids, it doesn't, that's not the point. The point is the choice to have
yes.
the choice. And that's all it is, you know, and it's not about, we've heard all, that's why I said too, you know, in a previous one, I'm tired of the disclosure and conspiracy platforms. I'm not trying to be divisive or separate, but how much more information do we need to know that there's an imbalance or however you want to describe it? The real topic is what you're talking about. The real topic is what's happening. Yes, there's a tremendous amount of purging going on, detoxing going on. Why would I go from beer, whiskey, and weed and cheeseburgers to
So,
it's
what
not
is
like
that? Sludge? What are you drinking?
I drink 5 of these a day, but it's not, but here's the thing. I was telling Morgan, my body's craving it. Like my body craves it. This isn't like, you know, I got hit by a lightning bolt. It just happened in a natural way.
Yes.
And I think that that's coming into play too, is where this whole thing about singularity or equalization, or what did you say a minute ago? We're all being brought to the same level.
Baseline.
Part of it is people starting to go, there is something happening here. You know, it really is. I mean, I talked to my kids last night, you know, to 19 and 25, and they get it. But I'm not talking to them like details, but they get it. They absolutely get it. And I think it's a lot more prevalent people's awareness than we ever thought. Yeah, I really do. Morgan ran into a lady in her 60s who uh, isn't in these circles, and she says, "Oh, I'm going to go do a video about erections." And the lady's like, "I don't want to hear about it." And then she came back and said, "Now, how do people respond when you talk about something like this?" She goes, "Well, I'm actually talking about, uh, you know, herioscamos merging as part of." And the lady's like, "Oh, well, that's I had that happen with a before. It happened to me. I didn't know what was going on, you know, and it just started happening, and it's been around for many centuries." I mean, this lady's not plugged into these communities. That's my point. But through her experience, she's exposed to some of the things we talk about. I mean, I just don't think we give ourselves enough credit, and as a result, we don't give each other credit. That's where you really see it. Yeah. So whatever.
I know. Don't you feel? I think. Well, I feel so everything is a personal journey, right? So if you are on a journey where you are baseline, so let's do the analogy where COVID is a baseline. It's an equalizer. It doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank, doesn't matter how much love you have in the heart. It's going to rip you down to baseline and give you an opportunity to create out of something different, right? Because you don't have your safety structures are not there anymore. So one of the things is, let's talk about over identification of whatever it is. It doesn't have to be, it could be like something as simple as a bear, whatever gave you strength in the past, it doesn't give you strength anymore. So on this journey of discovering your higher self, that's really the human experience, is discovering your higher self with limitations, right? So it's just like when we incarnated into this human experience, we are given a physical vessel, which limits our capacity to create. And somehow you're supposed to find joy out of those limitations. So that's the sarcasm and humor of the universe.
Well, that humor is important.
Yes, it's so important.
It's extremely important.
So it's one of those things where it's just like part of the journey of self is fitting other people's narratives on you and seeing if you like it, because you get to play. We do have it in a blinking of an eye, we can disappear off, but for average, the human life is about 70-ish years. You can play so many different roles, which is such a beautiful segue into yours. So have you hit your 3,000 show mark yet?
Yeah, but I don't know which day it was.
Okay, so but it was a big milestone for you, right? Like,
yeah, it was
how
big.
many different roles have you played in your short life? Like, I swear to God, you ran through the whole gamut just for funsies, and then and through all of that, you're like, that was fun at that time, but that was overrated, right?
Yeah,
And then
it's
you're
true.
like,
It's true.
yeah, and then you'll be like, oh, that was fun at that in that situation, definitely not fun anymore. Like just
that's right.
So everybody goes through it. The over identification is basically just trying on other people's narratives to see if you're happy with it. And it may be a very short expiration date on it. That's okay. You can evolve past those, but it's part of the journey back to self, where you're like, at the end of the day, when you finally officially sign off your last transmission, you know what you're going to really discover about yourself? You were the creator. You created all of it, and it's so funny, right? There's nobody did anything to you, people, right? You did it all to yourself. You signed up for everything. So some of my friends have very dramatic, like Todd, very dramatic narrative, like so dramatic that this is the good stuff Hollywood movies are made out of, right? And then some of us have very quiet lives. Like, I would say I have a pretty quiet life. The only drama I like is on screen, because it's not my drama. So but it's one of those things where the interaction of it, and I think the evolution of your journey went from Soulogy to fuck this shit. And the reason why is you figured out that you are your own inspiration. Like, you didn't have to interview 3,000 people. Really, all you had to do, and that's why you have such amazing algorithms, is turn the camera on yourself and realize you were your own inspiration all along, right? And the platform you provide for everyone is showing that mirror that you are your own inspiration. Like, it's humorous to tap into other people's stories, to check in to see, like, do I want to experience that? Sure, that sounds like fun. Let's do that. Or like, oh, hell no, I am staying far away from this crazy person. Like, none of that sounds like fun at all. And I think during this whole global pandemic, you get to try on different roles faster.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah.
So you get to experience things faster. Without the COVID, you had you just had a safety net of like, but this, but that. And I can't do this. I'm not pretty enough, not smart enough, not skinny enough, not flawless enough. It's like, oh, whatever, get over yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Do whatever brings you joy. The joy is not sustainable. But that's the other thing. People think that joy is like this, I don't know, magical, misty mountaintop. And I'm like, dude, it's life. everything is in context. What brought you joy today is not going to bring you joy tomorrow, right?
That's right.
So you need these lows and these highs to appreciate what you have. And COVID is just a pressurizer to show you that what you had all along, what you were born into all along, what you always possessed was it. That's the gold.
Damn, this is good. Preach. No, but and another way to look at it too, what you're saying. Well, you know how people say, or you hear, I wish we could return to normal. Right?
Yeah, what the hell's that?
Okay, so here's my point. Because this is what you're saying too. It's just another way to say it or look at it. So we have points in our past, and we go one way or the other. I want to recapture that. I want to go back to that. Let our relationship go back to that point. Let our business go back to that point. You know what I mean? You can't. It's just a memory, right? I mean, you can't. It can be an inspiration, but you can never get that. It's because it's just not the same time and space. And that's what I was saying about these over-identifications with my ability to channel such and such, or my past life when I was Jesus' son, or whatever the case is. They serve the same thing, all right? This whole coming down to an even playing field, none of that. I mean, it all comes with us, but it's not the moment. It's just part of the moment kind of thing, right? I mean, you're right. It's like everything, everything. The only thing there is what there is right now. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's it. And there's nothing you can say about it. That's just the way it is. And so it's interesting to see the what do we want to call it? The pressures of COVID. And I'm talking about like nuts and bolts, boots on the ground. Oh, you can't fly here, or you need to do this, or you need that. Do you, or do you not? It's no different than coming on yesterday and saying all the bad words you can't say, and we didn't get booted off.
Yeah.
It wasn't in defiance. Oh, I'll show you. It was just, this is what I'm going to do with this. This is how do you stand in your power all the time, every day? Every day. We do it every day. This is, I think, another thing that's happening because people are saying, fuck that shit. I'm going to be me. If I'm going to be, this is taken away and that's taken away and this is not me and that's not me, I'm going to be me. I'm going to do me and be me. And that's a powerful thing. I saw it to my kids last night and I just laughed my ass off. I was like, go. I wouldn't do it.
No, exactly. And that's how I feel when I observe you, right?
Yeah, I would imagine.
You do that. And it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, so for example, I'm going to come on camera here because this community is going to go into shock. I am vaccinated, right? So it's one of those things where it's just like, oh, you are vaccinated, but you're a light worker.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah. And I'm like, first off, I don't even know what the hell the term light worker means. To me, that just feels like another layer of you not being at peace of who you really are, right? Because true spectrum of light carries everything, all of it. Messy parts, beautiful parts, dark parts, glorious light parts. The full spectrum is carried there. But my choice is I was at peace with it. I didn't do it out of fear. I didn't do it out of love. It was more like, meh, this is the route less painful. You know what I mean? Because I could pick up the sword and go into warrior mode. Not a problem. I've done it in the past all the time.
You could pick up the sword and go into warrior mode on either side.
Exactly. But it's one of those things where it's just like, does that bring me joy right now? Not really. It brings me joy right now? Not confronting people with anything, not engaging with anybody's story. That is what brings me peace right now. And peace right now brings me joy. So sometimes peace doesn't.
I'm glad you said this. I just want to say this. I'm glad you said this for a lot of reasons, because it helps people get over themselves. And okay, quick example. So I'm homeless for 2 years. I eat McDonald's every day. I drink beer, whiskey, and very cheap malt liquor every night. Okay. And other illicit drugs and illicit activities. My body transformed in those 2 years at 50 years old. And I knew it somehow. There was an alchemization happening. It was an energetic transformation. I'm drinking 5 of these a day. I don't do any of these other bad habits. Uh, just because it's just not it's not the same thing anymore. It has nothing to do with right or wrong. It has nothing to do with wanting to be a vegan. It has nothing to do with any of that.
Yes.
You know, it's just what it is. So it's not about whether you take it or you don't take it. It's about your choice to do that and leave me the fuck alone. Stay in your own lane. Okay. That's just the way the universe works. That's how it's built. That's what we're finding our way back to. And the other thing is, how do you take that? How did I take the McDonald's in every day for 2 years? Do you think I took it in? Oh my God, I'm eating shit. No, I was going, this is all I can afford. God work with me. Let's make this, for my body to give me nutrients, whatever. It was self-talk, whatever you want to call it. Right. And so it's, I think, really important to that great divide is right here. It's right here. And you can either be on one side or the other, but the truth is it's the middle, right? That's the fallacy to me of the great divide. Oh, those people are asleep. Those people are awake. Well, I don't want to be with either one of them. I want to be in the middle.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's a choice too. It's one of those things where it's just like, it doesn't, choose, if you can choose out of love and passion, that is always going to echo more intensity in terms of your experience with it, right? If you choose out of fear because it's so polarizing, that will echo a lot of intensity as well. If you choose out of indifference, where you're like, what's my favorite color? I don't know. All of them? Then you just take all of them. It's one of those things where it's just like, I think a lot of people right now are out of fear of making the wrong choice. Mm-hmm. And I want to say there's no such thing as making the wrong choice.
True.
There's the only thing that exists is making more choices.
That's right.
Once you make one choice, you experience it, you evaluate it. You're like, was that cool? Was that fun? Overrated? Okay, let's just leave that. We'll try something different. And that's the only thing that you can't do anything wrong in this human experience. They're all experiences. There's no value assigned to it. When we came in here as humans, we're just like, let's do this. This sounds really cool because we were so bored sitting on that cloud, being perfect and omnipotent, right? All powerful. No, let's put us in feeble bodies. Let's make sure we sleep and eat for 8 hours. So half your time of creation is gone.
I know. I have a real problem with that part now.
Let's make sure you age and you break down because that sounds really fun. So you think you're like at your peak, and then all the wisdom, once you get it, your body breaks down. And that is like hilarious. The paradox of that, right? So it's all about finding what brings you joy in that moment. And sometimes peace is a form of joy, but that doesn't sustain itself. Nothing stays the same. Even like pain doesn't stay forever either, right? You acclimatize to pain. Well, I do, right? I'm a masochist. I'm still in retail for like friggin' 30 years. So it's one of those things where it's just like, you acclimatize it. It seems painful. And then you're like, meh, whatever.
No, this is good. This is good stuff because it's real, I mean, it's just like, get over it, like that, and I was, as much as I was possessed yesterday and some of these other solos I've done, it's not sarcasm. It's more like, it is kind of throwing, it's like, get over it, like, let's get past ourselves. I mean, the lesser God, it's such a paradox. Like the lesser God program, in other words, I know what to do. I know the right thing. I need to be right. You're right. The choice, there is no right or wrong. It's just leads you to another choice. And what's the best teacher? What's the only teacher? The experience. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's it. That's it. There's nothing else to it. And we chose to come here, by the way. We bought the ticket, take the ride. I mean, so why the fuck bitch about it? That's what I was saying yesterday. What are you going to do? You're going out the door. What are you going to do? Are you going to bitch and moan? Are you going to find your joy? Find some joy, right?
Yeah. That's the only thing you do have is an opportunity to create experiences. There's no value to your experiences. They're just experiences. Some people love repetition of experiences, and that's okay too, right? Like labeling their life as quiet or boring or whatever you want to label it, who cares? It doesn't affect you. Like, why are you labeling it? Or if you're like really into highs and lows and love roller coaster rides like yourself, that's an experience too, and you clearly have the stomach for it. So you know what, other people, they would throw up and then probably chuck themselves off the top of the roller coaster before they even hit the bottom part, right, just to see how the bottom feels. So it's one of those things where I think in this energetic experience, everything is coming a lot faster for you.
Mm-hmm.
And all the structures are breaking down for everyone, so you can create at baseline. But man, the polarization is just, it's, yeah, some days it's so
It's
intense.
interesting. You know what I get a kick out of, because I look
Yeah.
for different seeds of inspiration. And I'm working on this one, so you can expect a rant soon. But it's who the fuck are we to correct other people? Like, if you see a post, somebody will put a post up, and obviously that's something that they want to experience. And
Mm-hmm.
then they have all these comments. Well, it's not this way, it's that way. Or let me tell you how it really is. Like, and I look at it going, can you see that? You know, I'm telling myself, can you see
Yeah.
that? I don't, like you said, you see something, I don't want anything to do with it. But I find it interesting because I'm seeing all of us do it. Like, in other words, we're all coming to the awareness that we're projecting, or we're whatever you want to call it. We're not clued in. We're not present. We're still out there externalizing things. And it's really interesting and it's really fascinating. And to me, it's exciting because I see in some weird way, like you said a minute ago, everybody's brought, what did you say? Down to the
Baseline.
baseline. Everybody's being brought, and that's what I've always felt. Like, it's going to be a place where, you know, all the plastic's gone, everything's gone, all the masks are gone, and we're all just sitting there laughing our ass off because we took it so seriously, I guess. You know, something like that.
Yes. Yes. So serious.
I know. So, I mean, like, and I think the other thing too that's great about this journey is I look at it as, and I know divine union gets overblown and all the other words, but that's really what we got. We're already this thing, right? We're already this whole thing. It's not like we got to go work for it. You know, like, that's another thing I have a problem with today is, you know, these processes. I mean, I know they're important, and again, pick your path, whatever you want, but they all seem to be going to the same place. And what I see is, okay, I'm down here. I get to play with mirrors of myself. Like I told you today, I miss your crazy ass. Why? Because I'm a crazy ass. And we
Yes.
have a synergy, you know, and I love you. And it's just like, that's cool, right? You know, but we might not talk for 2 months, but there's no love. I mean, it's just pure. It's real. And it's no bullshit. And I think that's what I see happening with people too. And I think it's just COVID is the biggest gift we ever got. You know, it's the
Yeah.
biggest gift we ever got. It really is. You know,
So I have a question for you.
no, I'm not pregnant. Yeah.
uh, if you had to give advice, knowing what you do now, and you had to give advice to yourself when you first walked, walked out with what, 10 cents in your hand? What do you say? $1.11? What do you usually monologue?
I had well, oh no, the first time I had actually had about $168.
Okay, so the first time you walked out, you're like, the first fuck this shit, the real one. And knowing what you know now, what would you say to yourself? What advice would you give to yourself?
What advice?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, actually, I got the advice when I walked out. It was, don't lie, don't make excuses, don't blame anything external. And the reason I can't give any advice is because each step was the advice. You know what I mean? I mean, like, I couldn't have gotten through to him anyway. So I couldn't even explain to him. Uh, but advice would have been, I guess, really what I did, what we all did. You know, I just listened. I listened, even though it didn't make sense. You know, go walk, 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 walk every day. And I, I say that I've been saying that too over this year and last year. Okay, on the shows, I'll be like, why would we want to stop listening to what got us here in the first place? Like, think about all the crazy stuff you did that we've all done, that went against conventional wisdom and societal norms. Uh, and why would we question this now? Because we have this big thing about doubting ourselves. We get a download, we walk down the street 20 minutes, like, oh, did I just make that up? I mean, it's weird. I can't really explain it, and I can't answer that question. I don't know what I would say. I'll tell you what. I take that back. I But then again, it's doesn't make.
Okay, don't overthink it.
No. I was gonna say I
Just
probably would have effed less and fought less. There were some physical things I went through that were pretty intense, but the reason I hesitated was because that's what my soul chose. My soul chose to come in here and go to the extreme, and that fits my character as a human and as a soul. Like why? In other words, if I'm going to jump into this playground and it's going to be as wild as Earth is, and I know I'm not going to die, why wouldn't I go to the extremes of experience, which is what I did. So on one hand, I'm answering from a human standpoint, going, I probably wouldn't have gotten in 8 fights in 7 months at 50 years old with a bunch of rednecks, and busted my mouth open, and or ended up in places, where you wake up and you look next to you and go, oh my God, what did I do last night with this person? Things like that. But that's the extreme of a soul living to the extreme in this playground. So I think just probably just keep listening to that crazy guidance that got us here. To me, that's probably it. That was a good question. That stumped me.
So to summarize, you're saying the advice, if you, first off, you wouldn't have given advice to yourself because you don't listen to any advice. But if you heard us and your younger version of yourself actually listened to its higher version of itself, the advice is trust your instinct.
Yeah.
Is that your advice?
Yeah, trust your instinct, intuition, which I did. I did do that. I think we all did that, or we wouldn't be here. But so, like when I met Morgan was like, you didn't have to do that for 2 years, and that's what I love about her, because she makes me re-examine myself. So eventually, I get down the road like months later, and I'm like, fuck that shit, I mean, I wouldn't change a thing. I don't know. I value learning at the rate I did and do. I don't have a problem with it. I think that's embodiment. I don't know how you explain it. I mean, it's just I like the explanation of, I'm a soul. I know I'm not going to die. You can't hurt me. So if I'm going to jump into this playground where I can't die, it's like a video game. I'm going to. It might look crazy at a human level, but at a soul level, you're expanding to the fullest potential that you can. I mean, it just makes sense to me. It's like climbing up on a ladder. And I'm looking at a tree, and you have a saw in your hand, and you're gonna. That sounds horrible. It's murder, but you're gonna cut limbs. Like, you want to get everything you can while you're up there. You don't have to move the ladder like 15 times when you can move it 5. You know what I mean? You want to get as much of an experience bandwidth as you can. You stumped me.
So I have another question for you. So if knowing what you do know now, right, is your valuation of yourself different in terms of when you left for the first walkout and now?
Okay.
So if we took a snapshot.
No, I got it. Okay. So this is, so say that my field of energy is 100%, 100% is the full. I would say that when I left, so when I left, there was, God, you asked some very difficult questions. So what I was trying to say is, if you take into consideration consciousness or unconsciousness of shadow and what I know now, what what I know now, how I look at shadow or that, I would say I was 10% pure soul that would not be stopped, and 90% unconscious, and to a degree conscious shadow. And now maybe it's flipped, but the reality, it's the same there as it was now. Like I would have never stopped. You would have had to kill me. And the same would be now. And the same going to the vax thing. I would take the jab. I would. If I don't know under what circumstances, but if, like, say, for instance, if they said you can board a plane, you can go be with Morgan tomorrow night, you know, I'd go buy the sexiest fucking underwear I could find.
Why wear underwear?
And they said you got to take the jab. I would do it. I would do it. And I would do it in the most aligned state I could, just like eating the McDonald's food. I would consciously talk to it. I would consciously integrate with it. A lot of this I learned in New York City. I was hanging out with a guy there who was in the community in a big way. And we would get on the subway and he would have that hand sanitizer because you got to put your arms, okay. So I looked at that and I thought there's something wrong with that. I'm not going there because then I'm giving power over to these germs. So I put my hands on there, feel all the greasy oil from everybody's palms, and I would become one with it. I would merge with it. I would neutralize it. I would, you know what I mean? Because it's the same God substance. So I would look at it that way. Now, does that mean I'm saying everyone go out and get it or not get it? That's your choice. It's none of my business. But if truly, if somebody said that to me today, I would do it, and I wouldn't look back. You know, I would. And there might be other circumstances I would, but I'm not going to do it because because it's this blanket rule or mandate. I'm just not going to do it. Like that's just, there's got to be a reason, and if there's reason enough, I would, but that's kind of an explanation.
But so your valuation system, you would say when you first started the journey, you were unaware of how valuable you were. At this point in your journey, you understand how valuable you are in terms of creating.
Yeah. Yes. I would say the 10% knew it, the 90% that was perception of what shadow was hindered my ability to see what I can see today. Like today, it's 90-10, and I'm up. I'm like, I don't know what the word is. I'm just like, fuck this shit. Let's have some fun. Let's do something. Let's make something happen. Like, let's make the best of what I got. Even like with Morgan, it was a bit of an adjustment for a couple of months. It was a bit of adjustment. Yeah, I talked to you once. I kind of lost my shit, but at some point, I remember telling her about 4 weeks ago. I just was talking to her like this. I said, you know what? We fucking did it. Because I could feel both of us, having gotten past the perceived detriment of not being together.
Yeah.
Getting past, let's say, conventional thoughts on what a relationship should look like.
Yeah.
So it was I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's being, these words, right? Like a gratitude. And I do this. I'm not gonna, I get up every morning, I sit on the edge of the bed for 5 minutes, and I know it sounds corny, but I'm like, I'm just, thank you. And I feel weird because I'm talking to myself. And I'm not looking at God or the universe. I am that. So I'm like, thank you. I'm grateful to be here. I want to be here. Thank you for Morgan Lee. Thank you for what I get to do at Soulogy. Thank you for Huong. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. And then I just go on, and I go make my coffee, drink my juice, and have a cigarette, and try to go through the day not participating in these fucking programs, like judgment, condemnation of myself. I run into a lady a couple days ago who has been an antagonist uh, in the last few years. I She made a video talking shit about Morgan. She made a video talking shit about me.
Oh wow.
Uh,
Well, that's
but I end up, but I look at that and I go, it ain't about, it ain't about her. Like I don't want to participate in this. So what do? I put together a meme, which is really my way of bringing it into equalization. That says, I gain more from my shadow and observing my shadow and the shadow of others than anything they can teach me or I can teach myself. Right? Like, so that to me gets that out of the way, and I can be more present, more creative. And yeah, I'm here to create magic. I mean that. I'm here to create magic. And one thing I understand, we were talking about this last night. I was talking to Morgan about it. I've been on this path for a while in my own way, and that doesn't mean anything about anybody else. But I understand that the magic works when you trust the invisible. So, there's nothing that tells me I can't grow wings on my feet and fly through the air like Mercury, right? I'm interested in that because I've seen enough of what's been done
mm-hmm.
that I want to try stuff as long as I'm here that hasn't been done. So now I look at, for instance, our separation. I don't get caught up in why are we separated? Oh my God, how are we going to get there? I'm just at a early stage of going, this is where I want to be. Where is that place? I don't know. Who's with you? She is. What are you doing? Wouldn't you like to know? I mean, I'm just holding that space, knowing that I'm going to find a path, like building a new neural pathway.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's a big part of my focus every day, really. And just no judgment, no pressure. It took me 4 years to see a Soulogy Fest. I started talking about this network January the 2nd, 2019. And my vision of what it should be, or what I thought they told me it should be. And who is they? It's me. So it's like this whole thing. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. How do I know it hasn't already been achieved? It's just not by conventional means. How many people have come together? How many groups have started as a result? How many couples have come together? How many people have been moved to ask questions? And, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's been a lot bigger than I thought, and going back to your question about when you left and what you thought you were and where you're at now, every day I see how many souls, that Soulogy's touch. I don't know what the number is. I don't even care. It's just like, wow, this is pretty cool. I'm just going to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. And my last question.
You were ready. You didn't tell me this was going to happen. I'm shaking.
Well, that's not how I roll. I'm not going to tell you what's happening.
No, but I appreciate it. I think that's nice.
So this, in terms of Soulogy, what was your, if you had any intention? Maybe you were unaware of your intention because it sounded like you were only 10% aware. What was the intention of the creation of Soulogy, and what is it now?
Okay, that's a great question. It's the only one I can answer clearly. So the intention was, okay, the intention was what it still is. I mean, okay. So when it started, it was just, it was just like we say, following the guidance. But again, the guidance I thought was coming from something else was really just me telling me to do this, and so it was about the hero's journey. So it was that's what it was. Now, I didn't really know it.
Yeah.
I just shared what I could only share my truth, which is what was my experience. So that's where the spirit walk started, because that's what I did. I walked around talking to myself like all the other homeless people. And then there's nothing against it because I met many angels out there, believe me. So I just, one day I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to turn it on and have a spirit walk with the people with me, you know? And so it didn't dawn on me till, then I did see though, once I got off the streets and I started to participate, with images and then videos, I noticed that people started doing the same thing. I was like, wow, that's cool. Like you could see them coming out in all different ways, right? And I thought, wow, that's really cool. I saw that energy. And then Morgan, what, in 1st of August, she said, we need to do shows like a series on the hero's journey. These women mostly that have been sitting in the background. I thought, wow, that's great. So about 3 or 4 weeks into it, and I started to have these seminal moments with these women and a few guys where they just crossed the line of their fears and show whatever they got, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like, whoa. Like I don't even want to do another show. And I actually have a form letter now I send to people that says this is not a marketing platform. There's plenty of them out there, no disrespect, but we're interested in your story of transformation. And if it resonates, then, and by the way, there's about 200, and I'm sorry if you haven't got an answer back, I will get you an answer. And I hope to make some big headway this weekend. But no judgment, no pressure. But then what happened was, this is interesting. So 3 days ago, Kristen Van Bissett came on. And I've known her since she started her platform. She came on and I kind of gave her, helped her a little bit. Now I do that. And so let me take it back. Alicia Brachet came on 2 weeks ago. And we've done a few shows together. And I'm doing this show with her. And she wants to talk about her unexplained immaculate conception. Galactic.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And so, you and Julie and I had got into this subject about dragon eggs and about a year ago or something. So anyway, I'm kind of like, keeping an eye on the comments and then I noticed she started to tear up and something caught my attention. I thought, oh, wait a minute. And so she starts to tell this story, including a mantid come in her room and just different things. In that story, the mantid told her, we're helping you, da 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 da. And she said, okay, I'm good with everything, but there's one thing. Have you taken into account my emotions? And he said, no, we didn't take that into account. And something in her, like a mama bear thing, said, well, you're fucking going to. And I went, whoa. So then 2 things happened. I had Kristen Van Bissett 3 days ago, and then the lady from Alaska, Brittany Fletcher, 2 days ago. And they both had these moments where they started shaking, and then Kristen transmediumed, and the other one just told a story. But I could see them coming out, the tears. I mean, it was amazing. So through that, I found that I discovered that one of the things that we're doing here, even though it's pre-planned, even though it's a game, we were on a cloud, we came down. We're not aligning with the galactics or the elementals or the angelic. We're taking it even further, and we're taking them with us. We're on point, and it only makes sense. And now I get it. And the emotional quotient, the heart, the emotions being transmuted as a creative energy is what we bring to the universe. This is what the universe is learning. This is what we're learning. Mm-hmm. And so I learned that through the hero's journey. And so in reflection, to conclude it, it then dawned on me that what Morgan had suggested was actually what Soulogy was from the beginning. It was a homeless guy on the street with a flip phone from McDonald's I bought for $7, uploading prose and poetry with no pictures for 2 years.
Yeah.
And so it was about turning pain, transmuting. It was the same thing that we've all done. So I would say that it's the hero's journey / transformation, because it's the same thing. and it is today the same thing. It has been the same thing all along, which is, well, go figure. Aren't we discovering that we've been what we've been chasing since the day?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Spoiler alert.
Okay.
The final
Okay.
transition is
The final
you were,
transmission is right
yes,
back when we started, and we never took a step. And
exactly.
where
No,
the final transmission
no
is
need to be homeless. No need to carry a flip phone. None of that. Let's just fast track it if you don't want to go through all
but
that.
that's the thing, that the experience, and going back to your question about like, like what advice would you give? I can't, I told Morgan this last night again. I told her I would not change a thing. And that's, I don't know, that's my soul talking. Like I know the human, like if you asked the human 6 months, a year ago, whatever, he probably would have changed something. Like I would have changed that Morgan left 4 months ago. If you asked me a week later or a month later, but now I wouldn't change a thing, because we're discovering things, we're experiencing things at an energetic level that we wouldn't have been able to. And I know in some way that's contributing to the universe finding new experiences, because I really believe that that's what we represent. We represent new experiences for the universe, which is why we don't want to flatline and stand still and not make a choice.
Okay, pause.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say anything. Right there is the precipice of this whole human experience. We as a collective want a new experience. So in order for that to happen, COVID hit. We are at the point physically that we can take on this experience without killing off everybody on this planet. And that is the delicate dance of being in the physical and the spiritual world, right? We can only do as much as our physical vessel. So that is the whole beauty of Soulogy, is at the very beginning of everyone's journey, you don't value any of your experiences. You're like, this is bullshit. This was painful. I was traumatized. I was raped. I was homeless. I had everything taken away from me. You didn't value any of it. As you walk through all your experiences and you start acquiring it, you realize, looking back, and I'm going to summarize this because this is great, whether you intentionally realize this or not, near the end of, you are close to your true alignment when you say, wow, I valued all of those experiences. I would not change one thing. Everything was exactly perfect for me. Mm-hmm. So that really is the hero's journey, is when you sit there and your evaluation of your experiences goes from 0 to 100%. You don't take anything away from anything that you have experienced in your own little limited self. Right?
You said it. And really that was the real gist of what I tried to get across yesterday was, what would you do if you were walking out the door? And then capture that and keep that and then go on with your life. So like what you said to me is just to carry that with me from this point forward. Because what does it bring me? It brings me you're talking about gratitude for every little. So now I have that in the present moment. So now, see, I think that everything landed to this point, and now the second half starts, right? Like now, okay, I got all this information. I came to this point of understanding. Now what do I get to do? Do I leave and go to the next one, or do I play?
Exactly.
Right. That's where I'm at. Now I can go. Now I can go chase the magic, because I don't. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. You discovered you're unlimited, right?
Yeah. You're just like. You're just. I don't know. It's really strange. I never told you this, but there is, ever since I was a little kid, there was a certain feminine, sisterly constant in my life that had a certain, almost like a physical resemblance, okay, that was always in my life. One was a sister, another one was a girlfriend in junior high, and you're one of them. Like they all look alike, but if you set them all together, there might be a little physical resemblance, because in my mind there is, but
Yeah.
it's weird. It's like, I don't know how to explain it, but they all seem to have this quality where they could pull stuff out of me. I don't know how to put it.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's the clarifier. Like I feel like a lot of people created mirrors that clarify and purify their intention, right? To get rid of the distortion. So there are mirrors that are, like, let's use it as an analogy.
That's a very good explanation.
Some mirrors make you look really skinny and flattering. And some mirrors make you look really fat and unflattering. And then there are some mirrors that just zero in on exactly what you need at that moment. So, and those are the magnifying glasses, right? Everybody has a magnifying glass in their life. And sometimes you just need a proxy or that magnifying glass to concentrate the light. So your target, you hit the target. So that's what you have created in your coping mechanism as your support system. Not everybody creates it, but like for myself, I have that too. I call them mentors, where they're just a magnifying glass and they help me target and purify what it is that I need. So if I get tired of going like this, right, trying to hit my target. So that's what, but I get it. And it's one of those things, for Soulogy, it is, I think, a lot of the hero's journey, and a lot of the reason why you organically are a big deal is because you create a platform where people can hear themselves. And that's the funny thing, right? You're like, oh no, I'm listening to this guest. I'm like, no man, no bitch, you're listening to yourself.
That's true. Well, I asked that,
You don't feel
like
alone.
the girl that was on from Alaska 2 days ago, and I mean, she tells this story of stories within stories that was just amazing. Everything you could imagine, but it was all human, right? It was very cool. And finally I looked at her and I said, how do you feel about actually finally telling your story? And she's like, I don't know. That's a deep question. She goes, but I feel good. It feels good. That's all I can say.
Yes.
And that's it. We think it's going to be this big woo-woo thing with a bunch of fireworks going off.
Yes.
And it's just this really human thing, right?
Yeah,
It's just,
and it's a very quiet thing. It's just like, you know what it is? When you come on and you share your story, you are seen, right? It's just like the old question, when a tree falls in the forest, does anybody hear it? Your existence you don't exist unless you are seen and heard.
that's
So
right.
when you are in front of the camera and you are in a space that's safe, like Soulogy, you get to have that courage to come out. And then you're like, okay. And you're like, thank God Todd exists. He's a mirror of me, where I am now feeling seen, feeling heard, and gives me enough courage and inspiration to move forward. And then everyone else that's still shy, that is still doesn't, not everyone wants to come on camera, and that's totally fine too. Some people are not camera people, but if they can see a version of themselves on camera, they are also heard, and they are also like validated. And that's the whole thing about the human experience, is being validated for experience, because otherwise you're just like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Why am I here? It's the cheeseburgers are that great. So it's about echoing each other's experiences and being heard for it, right?
That's it. That's what people write every day. They write about it. They write to me every day, or even after a show, they say what you say. And so that's cool. Yeah. And again, it's not all and that's what I think is cool, because it's a very human thing. So, like what I watch happening is these kind of a fusion, like Kristen Vamba said, she'd never trans-channeled. She didn't want to, but she intuitively knew she was going to. And I just happened to go, hey, have you ever trans-channeled in front of people? Because, I don't really push that stuff on the show. I don't. I try to say, and she's like, I knew you were going to ask me. And the next thing you know, she started shaking. She's about to cry. And you could see it. She just jumped in. She didn't wait. She just jumped in, and meant the world to her. And then the other one was telling stories, like a lot of the typical, not typical, but like human stories in her life, including ETs. But the fact that she was doing it, her voice was trembling the whole time. She was crying, not like profusely, but you could tell it took everything she had. And I'm like, this is it. This is like the cosmic orgasm. This is like, well, this is it. Like
Yeah.
that's, you want some of that. You know what I mean? And I think the way you said it is true, because then we see it, and then we're like, okay, well, it's okay. It's going to be okay. I can go do it. Right. And
Yeah.
then another one sees it. So yeah, man, you're good. You've like just, you're just like, whoa, very cool. I need to
Well,
come.
this is my gift, and I think a lot of people will share my sentiments that it's a thank you for everything that you do. It's definitely not going to be your last transmission. You're going to age gracefully on camera until the ripe old age of like 110.
Shit, better be longer than that.
And you'll be the veteran in the community where you look back, and then anyone that feels off course, feels alone. I think it's a big one, especially with the COVID. There's lots of isolation. It's one of those things where it's just like, it's not about COVID. It's not about the vaccine. It's not about who you channel. It's not about what you eat. It's not about what you look like. None of it. It's about being heard and seen, right?
It's
And
true.
so, yeah, so this is just my thank you for creating this Soulogy where people are heard and seen. And I think that gift, like anyone that comes on and breaks through that barrier, because it's kind of like a plateau. Usually when guests come on, they're at the plateau, right? And they're like, can I do this? I'm not sure if I can do this. Well, I'm going to do this. And when they break through, you really created that access point, which is big for people to just do what brings them joy finally. Because the ones that bring you joy, they're not going to come on camera. Like, why bother? They're enjoying themselves, right?
That's right. Yeah.
It's the ones that are struggling to find it. And then they're going to come on camera. You're going to give them that access point. They're going to break through, and they'll be one of the ones where just like, yeah, you know what? I was scared. I was shaking. I was crying. But at the end of it, it was a good ride. And it's just one of those things where it's just that when you have a community that echoes that, it's a valuable gift. And everyone that participates in it, engages in it, your friends, your enemies, people that trigger you, all of it is valuable experience, right? So it's one of those things that's just like, yeah, it sucks right now. But you know what? We wanted a different experience. So fucking suck it up already. God, stop whining. Like, do you know why we're in a global pandemic? Because the aliens are way too smart to invade us. That's why we have to like create this COVID situation, All the aliens out there that are higher races, they're like, no, don't go down to there. It's not worth it. There's nothing worth invading. So, yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your 3,000-ish episode. I'm very happy you stuck around. And for you and Morgan, yeah, you guys will get back together. But in the meantime, just kind of ride it out, right? Like,
Yeah,
what else are you gonna
that's
do?
right. We had to do with what you have. We have fun.
Exactly.
We have fun. Yeah. So, I bought her some roses. You just work with what you have. Right?
Exactly. There's beauty in everything, in every moment. The only difference is you don't value it now because you're going through it, right? But everything changes. Even happy moments change, pain changes. It's not sustainable. The only thing sustainable is the next choice and the next experience. That's it. That's all you add.
And you got to make a choice to get to the next choice.
Yeah. And sometimes the choice might be, I don't want to make a choice. I'm just going to sit here like a lump and see what.
That's a choice. That's a choice.
Yeah. And that's okay too. That's called surrendering. You're like, nah, I'm not going to make a choice. I'll just let whatever happens. It'll be all good.
God. Now I got to do 2 shows and you got me all softened up. Yeah, that was great. Thank you. Unexpected. I didn't know you were going there, but I appreciate you. You know I love you. And thank you.
Yes.
Best to your kids
We
and
all
you.
appreciate you. So that's just my gift to you. Thank
Thank you.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'll see you later.
All right.
Be back in 35 minutes with somebody. I don't know their name. Sorry. I didn't mean for it to sound like that. But anyway, okay. Thanks, hon. I'll see you
Okay.
later. I'll
Bye.
talk to you later. Okay. Bye bye.